What can a customer do today to best prepare themselves if they are interested in an autonomous solution in the near future here?
I think that's a great question. I think the more that they can do today, the easier that transition gets when they do adopt or have one of these machines on their farm. And so I'd say the first thing that's nothing new, but it continues to be one of those things that you're going to hear from Deere Preach is around boundaries. The system utilizes boundaries. I'd say as we move into autonomy, we're kind of upping the ante a little bit where we need what we're calling autonomy boundaries. And all that really means is your boundary has been mapped with a super high level of accuracy. So think SFRTK if you're utilizing our Starfire 7000 and Starfire 7500 and you have that activation, or RTK network, our radio RTK signal. It has to be mapped with one of those two with one of the latest updates from our displays, our G4 or our G5 display. And what that allows us to do is make sure that we know down to the sub-inch level exactly where the boundary is, because that's really the containment zone, right, that machine's going to stay in. It's not going to go outside of that boundary at any point. So the first thing they can do is make sure they have autonomy-capable boundaries. The nice thing is when we're mapping those boundaries today, right there in the display, it's going to alert them if the boundary is of high enough quality to be an autonomy boundary. And really, it's saying, do you have the best level of signal you can? And is that signal strength good enough that our confidence level is high in that boundary? So number one is mapping those boundaries and mapping the field using those SFRTK or radio RTK signals. So obviously the outside of that field, but then also inside the field, waterways, telephone poles, tile inlets, whatever those are, mapping around those so that way that the machine has a really, really good picture or a good map of what that field looks like so that the machine can run optimally once it gets there. So first I would say is boundaries. The next step is understanding how the machine operates, how the base kind of path planning works for the machine. It's nothing new for these machines. The autonomous solution is really replacing the eyes of an operator, but the path planning is all done from stuff that we've been using. Things like AutoPath for boundaries and AutoTrack turn automation and true sets. Those are all the things that are actually operating the machine going through the field. So for a customer today, one of the best things they can do to understand how this machine is going to operate is to get used to things like ATTA and AutoPath and TrueSet, because those are all the enabling hardware that the autonomous solution uses. Again, the autonomous solution, when we put that on a machine, it's not changing how it maps the field or how it drives. It's just utilizing AutoPath with turn automation, with TrueSet to the extreme. And so getting comfortable that maybe that machine is going to turn slightly different than I would, that's because that's how ATTA is programmed. So getting comfortable with how ATTA works, AutoTrack turn automation, and then understanding how it's going to split up that field or divide that field is really all AutoPath from boundaries. And so getting used to those things on their farm is going to make the transition to autonomy even easier.
Yeah, all those components, all the hardware, the enabling hardware that's going to bring you to complete automation. I think it often gets overlooked that we can go from 0 to 60 or couch to 5K. One of the best things to do is, like you said, getting those boundaries, getting those autonomous capable boundaries or autonomy capable boundaries in your operation center, using those enabling hardwares today in order to best prepare yourself for that autonomous solution down the road.